Okay guys, welcome back to Miller RC, and today we're going to be doing a review on the Flex Innovations Mamba 10. This is not a new airplane. This came out I think about 3 years ago, way back in 2017, so not a new airplane. I did want to mention that. And I also want to mention that I am not sponsored by Flex Innovations or any particular brands corresponding to Flex Innovations, so we bought this with our own money, so we're going to have an unbiased, honest review here. So let's go ahead and go over the specs and what's included in the plane and all that. So this is a plug-and-play model, which means you have to supply your flight battery, transmitter and receiver, and battery charger to get flight ready. The servos, motor, and ESC are already pre-installed for you. As far as specs go, the wingspan is 40.7 inches, the length is 43.4. Wing area is around 691.3 square inches, so quite a bit of wing area. That's good for a 3D plane. And the weight with their recommended 3-cell 2200 milliamp pack is going to be around 54 ounces. Alright, so some features that we're going to go over here is it comes in two colors. The one that you see here, the red and silver and white. And then it also comes in this green, blue, and silver. See if I can get it right there. And so that looks pretty cool. It's a different scheme you can get if you like that. This has the Aura 8 flight control system in it, and we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about that later. 6 servos, which means there are 4 ailerons four aileron servos for each aileron. So we have top and bottom wing ailerons, so that's pretty cool. And then there's a plywood structure inside the fuse, which allows it to be a little bit lighter and a little bit stronger, because most of these 3D planes just tend to be foam, and they get pretty solid foam. They get kind of heavy, so that's kind of nice right there. So, and this is meant for 3D. As you can see, the rudder is pretty large, as well as all the other surfaces. So this is meant for 3Ding. And then we have vortex generators, highly modified ones. Flex refers them to as shark teeth, and we'll take a closer look at that a little bit later. So, another thing I wanted to mention there. And then there is a different power setup available for this airplane. Stock, this runs on 3-cell, but this optional one will be on, the optional setup is on 4-cell. And I do have the 4-cell setup on mine right now. Alright, so let's go over what's installed in the plane when you first get it. It's a 10 size 1400 kV brushless motor. This is the stock 3-cell setup, which I have right here. Pretty self-explanatory. Brushless outrunner, no big deal. Inside the plane is a Hobbywing Skywalker 50 amp ESC, and that is set at 5 volts. The servos are 15 gram digital Metal Gear servos from Potenzo. This is from Potenzo, is the brand name, in case you're wondering. So, and I haven't had any issues with them. They're probably sized around, you know, like a 65 MG or 5065 is what they're probably equivalent to. And then the Aura 8 gyro board is installed from the factory, and you don't have to do anything. It's pre-tuned for their settings, but they do allow you to adjust a pretty whole array of parameters, which is really nice because I did change mine, and I'll talk about that later. And then also, when you get it, when you buy it stock, it comes with this 11-inch propeller. I think the pitch is, it's 11.5 by 4.5 is the dimensions on the prop, and that's what comes with the stock. And then they also give you this cable right here for adjusting the parameters on your Aura 8 gyro board, so that's pretty cool. Alright, so this airplane is made out of EPO foam, the pretty, you know, just general foam that pretty much every other foam airplane uses, so nothing too big there. Alright, so let's go over and talk about the build process. The manual is actually pretty good in telling you what to do. So they have you first install the landing gear and the tail wheel. Insert the tail, the horizontal stabilizer, and it shows you how to connect that up. And then it shows you how to program your transmitter for the Aura 8 board, because it has to be specifically, and I'll show you that right here. Pause the video so you can get this set up properly. Now this is the stock configuration. Also, here's the transmitter setup. Pause the video and copy this if you want. Alright, then it shows you how to install a receiver to the Aura 8, as you can see here, which is kind of a neat little feature. This Aura 8 talks to multiple radio bands, as you can see: Spectrum, Futaba, let's see what are all, I think it's Spectrum, Futaba, Gropner, JR, and Jedi are the radio brands that this Aura 8 can talk to. So I did want to mention that. Alright, and then they have you install the wings and the cabanes, outboard struts, connect it all up, and then pretty much after that the airplane's finished. So it's a pretty simple build. It goes together in about an evening. So pretty simple build. So that's kind of how the build process is, and then they have you install the prop and spinner as well. So I did want to mention that. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a closer look at the plane now. So I'm going to go ahead and take the camera off the stand and we'll take a closer look at the plane. Alright, so we're going to take a closer look at the plane now. I also have my radio and the plane powered on so we can show you some of the deflection surfaces as well. Alright, so up front, like I said earlier, I have the 4-cell setup in mine. This has the 12-4 wood prop with the 4-cell motor. You don't have to change the ESC out or anything like that, so that's pretty much it. The spinner is a plastic spinner that just installs one bolt, no back plate, and it's stiff enough. Normally I'd want a back plate on there, but I haven't had any issues with spinners exploding, so that's good. Here are the wings, pretty basic, as you can see here. Foam once again. These are stickers right here. It's not painted on, so just wanted to make that clear. Here you can see here the screws for the outboard struts. The outboard struts are also made out of foam, but they do have a carbon fiber support brace going through them, so that's cool. Then here are the Shark Tees What Flex Innovations. Are kind of like a modified vortex generator, but they do work really good. Alright, so moving on to the top of the wing, you see we have these hinges right here, which is really cool. You know, on a plane like this, you don't want to have foam hinges because they would tear right away. And every surface has those hinges, so that's good. Glad they thought of that. Here is the air vent. Some air vents on the side of the fuse for some air exiting, because as you can see, it's an open structure right there, so gotta have a place for that air to go. Canopy is painted foam. Some people are probably going to want that to be clear. For me, it honestly doesn't matter, but I just want to point it out. It is painted foam. The tail's pretty normal. As you see, large surface, elevator surface right there. Kind of interesting that I find that it has no counterbalances, but I haven't had any servo issues yet, so it seems to be working. Once again, as you can see, we have the hinges right there. Rudder, pretty basic. Once again, no counterbalance, but hinges on this one as well, so that's good. Then that's pretty much for the top of the plane. Besides the cabanes here, you can take a look at how top wing mounts. It uses these screws. There's 2 in the front. I think there's 2 in the back then. Yep. So 4 screws to secure the top wing onto the cabanes, and then you have these outer struts right here. Alright, so that's pretty much the top of the wing, or the top of the plane. I'm going to go ahead and flip it over because there's some stuff on the bottom there too. Alright, so now we're taking a look at the inner side of the plane. Here are the wheel pants and wheels. The wheels are actually pretty large on this, So you probably will be able to operate off that, off of grass. And these wheel pants do come off just in case you don't want to use them. So they are removable. Just wanted to make that clear. Your landing gear, as you can see there, the wire style, which is held on with this bracket right there. So, and it works. I haven't had any landing gears fall off. Here is the underside of the wing. It uses the center bolt to attach. And here are the bottom aileron servos right here. And the top ones, so really cool. And then the bottom wing also has 2 pegs for this plastic part right here. So that's how the bottom wing attaches. And then I also wanted to mention that the servo linkage uses the traditional clevis, which I thought was kind of interesting. Me personally, I would like to see ball links, but it's been working, and we do get it's been working, and we haven't any issues with it. But I still would still prefer ball links. This hatch here holds the Aura 8 gyro board, and that has all the wires plugged into it, as you can see. So that's good. Good to know. And that's where that hides. And then here's the tail wheel, and it holds on with this bracket here. So that's pretty cool. Alright, I'm going to flip this thing back over. If I missed this earlier, here is the battery hatch area. You can see I got the battery there. Here's that plywood construction, which is really cool. Motor mount right there. Pretty basic. So, and once again, this is the 4-cell setup, so I have a 4-cell 2200 milliamp pack in there. Alright, so let's go over some control throws here. I'm not going to mention my control dual rates or anything, just because everybody's different. But here are my high rate ailerons, and these are stock setup from that manual, what the manual suggests. I have not changed it. It's been enough aileron for me. Here is the elevator deflection on high rates. As you can see, it's quite a bit of deflection, which is good. Most of these foam 3D planes usually don't have enough elevator. They're normally having something like that right there, which is never enough. But this actually has really good throw on it, so really happy about that. The rudder also has plenty of throw, not lacking for it. As you can see, really good deflection there. So really happy about that. And I don't think I have any rates. Yeah, I don't have any rates on my rudder. I never do. Just my preferred setup. So, all right, and that is the control throws. So I thought I'd show you that. And this battery hatch, by the way, uses the pin latch system with a carbon fiber catch, and it just goes like this. So pretty basic, and it's not falling off. It hasn't fallen off in general flights. So, alright, I'm going to go ahead and put this camera back on the stand, and we're going to talk more about technical details and the pros and negatives about the plane. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the way I've set up my Aura 8 gyro board. I've changed it from factory defaults, and I want to talk about that a little bit. So, factory default settings, they have some predetermined throws, and the gyro, I think, is constantly on. I'm not sure, but I have this set up to where I can turn the gyro on and off, because me personally, I'm not a gyro fan. All my 3D other planes don't have any gyros anywhere, just because I don't know, they fly good without them. Me personally, but sometimes I fly with the gyro on, but I can tell you this right now, most of the time when I fly this airplane, the gyro is off, because I find with my particular model, it does high energy maneuvers a little bit better with the gyro off, so I just leave it off all the time when I'm flying. And then I've also set the Aura 8 to where I can adjust my dual rates and expos, like you can see here, dual rates and expos. Where I can set that up through the radio, because I don't like to, go inside and plug it into the computer to change my dual rates and expo settings. I don't want to do that. I want to be able to, just land and just through my radio. So I changed that. And then another advantage I want to say that why I like to leave the gyro off is because if this airplane needs trimming at any point in time, I can just trim it through the radio. If the gyro is on constantly and you flip it to different gyro modes, then the trim ain't going to be the same and all that. And the manual tells you how to do this trimming method to where your trims do remain the same throughout all gyro modes. But me personally, I just like to trim through the radio. So that's why I have the gyro off most of the time, so I can have the freedom of trimming through my radio. And I am mentioning, plugging this Aura 8 into a computer. They do give you the cord to do that right here. It is included in the box and all that. So wanted to mention that. One thing I do like what this Aura 8 does is it allows, especially if you're a Spectrum user like I am, it allows you to you only have to plug in a satellite like this, which I thought was kind of interesting. So if you're Futaba, you do have to use a receiver, and it tells you right there. So it tells you right there how to set up Futaba and pretty much any radio brand. So you definitely want to read the manual and have some literature. And the manual is very good at telling you how to do it. So the manual is very well written and thought out. Okay, so went through the Aura board. All right, let me think here. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about pros and negatives. There are some definite pros and some definite negatives. There's some things that really perturb me about this one. So let's go ahead and start off with the pros. It does fly very well for a foam 3D plane. Most of the foam 3D planes that I've flown, they're kind of lacking in a lot of, most of the time it's actually, once again, pitch authority. Like I said earlier, there's just never really enough. But this one here, as you can see, has got plenty. So I like that. So it does, for what it is the best foam flying 3D plane I've flown yet to date. So it does fly very good. It still, in my mind, doesn't touch the extreme flight level. I don't think it's quite there, but it is a lot of fun to fly. I do enjoy flying it. And then the 6 ailerons, or the 4 aileron servos, is really cool because you can adjust crow on this, which I'm trying to figure out where that's at. Oh, right here. It allows you to get this pretty cool mix right here that allows the ailerons to act as air brakes. You can see the bottom aileron is down and the top wing aileron is up. So that's pretty cool. You can do some advanced mixing in the radio with the individual aileron servos. So that's really cool. Another plus I kind of like is the color. I don't know how to say it, but it doesn't have a whole lot of stickers on it, so they you can tell that they're trying to keep the weight down. And then the plywood frame in it is also another huge plus in my mind, because it's much better than just a solid foam fuse with a little bit of carbon fiber in it, just to show you that it's much lighter, and yeah, it's just much lighter and it performs better in the air. Okay, so those are my pros. We're going to go ahead and get into the negatives. The definite negative is the stock power setup. Like I said earlier, this comes with a stock 1400 kV motor, 10 size, as you can see right there, and this 11.5 by 4.5E. Well, in all my setups and in all my attempts, even with high C rating batteries, it is very, very underpowered on 3-cell. And I was almost at the end of the flight, I'm full throttle just to maintain a hover at 3-cell, which is not good. So the 3-cell setup is definitely underpowered. And then the thing that really irks me is that you have to spend another $60 on a new motor and a prop to get it to work. And if you don't have 4-cell batteries, then you have to buy those too. So I would much rather see this with the 4-cell setup in it. Why they don't do that, I don't know. But the stock setup is very underpowered. And it's also very inefficient as well. I only got maybe 3 minutes at the most with that 3-cell setup. And it really was hard on the 3-cell batteries. This setup here is so much more inefficient. I'm thinking I'm getting about 5 minutes and 30 seconds on the 4-cell setup, and the batteries just come down barely warm. So why this 3-cell setup is in its stock, I don't know. So that's a big downer. The second downer is for $300, which is the common price or stock price for this. For a 40-inch airplane, I expected quite a bit more quality. It has the general plug-and-play issues, quality issues, you know, like E-flite or Motion RC, free wing, you name it. As you can see here, this big gap right there is kind of ugly. You know, just the manufacturing tolerances aren't that great. For the aileron here as well, this does not sit flush on the wing. And then my kit wasn't included with the spinner. I had to contact Flex Innovations on that and get them to send me a spinner for it. So that's a negative right there too. For the price amount you pay, and they call this a super plug and play as well. You expect a lot more quality, and this one's not there. Another thing I don't like is the landing gear. This landing gear, I don't know, it's floppy, and it just looks kind of ugly, you know, bends and flexes like that. I would have much rather seen some carbon fiber landing gear. It's lighter, much stiffer and stronger, so I'm not too big a fan of the landing gear. And then that's pretty much all of the big negatives. There are just a lot of other stuff I'd like to see different on it that I won't call negative. Like I would like to see ball links. Outboard servos would be also nicer. The linkage would be much stronger. I mean, this setup, as you can see, works. And I haven't had any issues with it, but me personally, I would like to see outboard servos. So that's one thing I would much rather see. But that is pretty much all the negatives I can find on this one. Oh, one more big negative I would want to say are these cabane struts, the carbon fiber cabane struts. They are not installed for you from the factory. They really should be. The manual does tell you how to do it in a really good way, but my problem with that is that if you do something wrong and you glue one of these cabane struts in the wrong place or not far enough in, that top wing incident is going to be screwed up. And that's not going to be good because, you know, then the airplane ain't going to fly straight during precision maneuvers and it's not going to work right. So, and it really adds probably a good 30 minutes to the build, which is also kind of a downer. So the cabane struts really should be installed from the factory. That's another big negative that I found. I won't call this a negative, but one thing I really dislike are the screws to hold everything together on the wing. For these outboard struts, I'd much rather have seen a pin design, because and it's not really a big negative because this is a pretty small plane and you can probably fit it in most vehicles that you want to fly. But if you do have to take it apart, it's going to take forever to take it apart and screw it back on. That's because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 screws to hold this entire thing together. And unscrewing these screws is just going to take a while. So a pin design would have been much, much faster. So I think they could have I think they didn't design the wing attachment system very good. It's strong and it works, but it's just that if you have to take it apart, you have to unscrew so many screws, and the chances of losing those screws and all that becomes a big factor. So that's one thing I also don't like. So some other things I do want to mention are these horizontal stabilizers. They are held on with tape, which I'm not going to complain about because there is a carbon fiber wing tube, and that's where it gets its main strength, and it's plenty strong. So I do like that. Alright, so other than that, that's pretty much all the negatives that I can think of on this plane right now. If I come up with any during the review, I'll let you know, but that's pretty much all the negatives that I can find with this airplane. So I'll leave a link to where you can purchase this plane, and there are multiple vendors as well where you can get it. So if you're interested in this product, you can go ahead and check the description. And then, like I said earlier, I know I pointed out a lot of negatives, but it is a fun airplane to fly. It is the best foam 3D airplane I've ever flown. But I still, me personally, if you're familiar with my channel, you know that I do a lot of extreme flight reviews. The extreme flight airframes still perform better, and those are even without gyros, where this one kind of needs a gyro to fly well. Like I said, and I'll let you know on this, I flew it with the gyro off and the gyro on. I haven't noticed much of a difference. Maybe the only advantage the gyro really gives you is in slow 3D hovering. It is a lot easier. I think the gyro also assists in the hover, because the hover was really weird for me when the gyro was on, because it kind of did everything for you, which is really weird. I'm used to hovering without a gyro, so that was kind of weird for me. So more professional 3D pilots like this, or more professional 3D pilots, are probably going to want to fly with the gyro off. So that's what I would predict. Now, I will say, for what it is, if you're a beginner 3D guy and you're looking in order to get more serious in the 3D, this is probably a good first plane for you, because like I said, the gyro does help a lot in the slower flight maneuvers. So I did mention, so that is my recommendation for you. So more professional pilots, me personally, professional pilots like this, like us, I would lean more towards the extreme flight models. Probably something equivalent to this would be a 48-inch. I still prefer my 48-inch is better, but this is good for what it is, and it does fly really good for a foam 3D plane. Alright, so that pretty much sums up the review for the Mamba 10. We will be getting a flight video for it as soon as we can, and once we do, we will leave a link in the description of this video as well. So that about does it for the review, and for the money, and for the type of person. If you're a beginner 3D plane, I'd say yes, it's worth it. For a professional 3D guy, I'd lean more towards kind of maybe no, because it's going to be lacking in some of the, like I said, quality, the plug-and-play type quality airplane. It shows on this for the amount you have to pay, the amount of money you pay for this airplane, and just extreme flight airframes do perform better overall. But this is what I'd recommend it for, is a beginner 3D guy. Alright, so that about does it for the review. For the money, I do think it's worth it. I do enjoy it when I do fly it. So that about does it for the review. Thank you guys for watching Miller RC, and tune in next time.